Hey everybody. What we're going to be looking at today is actually three sections in one. 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7 are dealing with adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers, meaning positive and negative numbers. Usually this would kind of be like a no calculator type section that we would do, but being at home and having phones with calculators and things right there, we're not really going to do that. If you think you want help and need help on doing that type of thing, if you're going to be in a type of job where you need that, or you just want to know that, I can help you out more individually on that. But we're going to focus more on the word problems in these three sections. So there'll be less work to actually do, but we're going to go through it a little faster. First thing I wanted to show you was on your calculators how to do positive and negative numbers. So if we wanted to do something like 4 plus a negative 9, obviously you hit 4 and then plus, and now the school calculators, a lot of times you'd hit -9, the negative button and the 9, but here you'll hit 9. Let's see if I can get this so you can see. And then this plus or minus button puts the negative sign in front of it. Okay, so now it's 4 plus a negative 9. You hit equals, and you get -5. So when you're doing negative numbers in here, you actually, if you want to type in -11, you would type in 11 and then hit the negative sign. Okay, if you want to change the sign on it, then you just hit the button, the plus minus sign, and it changes the sign. Okay, so just wanted to show you that first when I had the camera on. Now I'm going to shut the camera off and share the screen and just quickly go over these three lessons. So we're going to skip a lot of stuff because we're going to be doing basically just a word problem. So if we were doing this regular and no calculator, we'd have to spend a lot of time learning this, which I still think is important. It's stuff you probably have seen before, but for now, we're going to kind of skip over that stuff. Okay, so nothing on this page is really going to be important. So we'll go to the next page. Actually, let's go to the study guide of 1.5. I think there'll be some word problems. So these are all just adding positive and negative numbers. One type of problem you'll see is, or could see, is like example 3 here, just showing how they use negative numbers. So you record withdrawals and deposit in your checkbook. The starting balance is $265. The first withdrawal is $20. Second is withdrawal is $92. The first deposit is $40. What is the final balance? So you can see anytime you have a withdrawal, that means you're taking money out. So they represent that with a negative number. And then a deposit is adding, so they represent that. And then they just add. Now this would be the same. Instead of adding a negative, you could say 265 minus 20 minus 92 plus 40. The main key here is that you understand withdrawal and deposits, and that after all this stuff, you're left with $193. Okay, so not too difficult of a word problem, but just a kind of a simple one, making sure you understand that. Okay, so let's go back to the note-taking guide. Go to 1.6. The one type of non-word problem that we will see here that you'll need to do is problems like this. We'll talk about these quick. You're going to be able to use your calculator, but you just have to make sure that you put the numbers in correctly. Okay, so like here, x equals -8. You'll substitute -8 in for x. And now you would type this in your calculator. You'd hit, the way you'd hit this would be 8 and then negative. Then you hit minus, and then you hit 22, hit the negative button, hit equals, and it should give you 14. Okay, if you're trying that and not getting that, message me. I'll call you, show you how to do it on the phone. Okay, same thing here, x is -8, so this is, now make sure sometimes it helps to write this down, because sometimes when there's these two negatives, people forget one of them. But this is 9 minus, and then x is -8. So 9 minus -8. If you're good with this stuff, you'll remember your rules of subtracting a negative is the same as plus a positive. You just add them, and it's 17. If you're using your calculator, you hit 9 minus, and then you hit 8, the negative button, hit equals, and you should get a positive 17. Okay, if you're not sure about that, try it out. Make sure you're doing it right. Okay, getting these answers. Same thing, you could try these down here. If you're not getting them, let me know. Example 3 here, it says write a verbal model and find the change in temperature given the start temperature and the end temperature. Okay, use the model to find the change in temperature from -5 degrees to 12 degrees. So this is kind of an important, that you're probably going to see this. Okay, to find a change in something, you take whatever it ends at, so in this case the end temperature minus the start temperature. So if it went from negative, first of all, going from -5 up to 12, that means you're going to end up with a positive number. Okay, so they took the end temperature, which was 12, minus the start temperature. Okay, so 12 minus a -5 will give you 17. Okay, if you have one, it looks like both of these go up and both going to be positive. We'll take a look at the study guide and see if there's a different one. Otherwise, I will go over a different one. So let's go to the study guide. Again, if I'm going too fast, hit pause, grab it. There'll be some other problems in here where you're substituting in for variables. So if you can understand those, you're good. Here, the same type of thing. Is the temperature one, you're evaluating change. And so they're trying to find the difference in elevation between the Mount Whitney in California is this much above sea level. Death Valley is 282 feet below sea level. They want to find the difference of the two. Okay, and the key here is if it's below sea level, that's going to be represented with a negative number. So they take the elevation, the height of the mountain, minus how you represent the depth of Death Valley, which is a negative. Okay, again, minus and negative is the same as plus and positive. Or if you're using your calculator, you'd hit this 14,494 minus 282, hit the negative, and then hit equals. Okay. I want to show you number 10 here because this one's a little different. Okay. So in the note-taking guide, we saw when you're doing this to find the change, you take what you end at minus what you start at. And so number 10, you end at a -16. Then you're going to minus, and I don't write the parentheses, I just put the negative up higher, but they would put parentheses around that. Okay. So well, you end at is -16 degrees, you start at -4 degrees. If you type this in your calculator, or if you're just good at these and you change this to plus or positive, -16 minus a -4 is a -12. If you're not getting how to do that in your calculator, let me know. So that negative means the temperature actually dropped. Okay, so having this as an answer means the temperature actually dropped, which makes sense. We should know this being in Minnesota. -4 goes down to -16, so it's a drop of 12 degrees. So I just wanted to talk about that one. Okay, so that's 1.5 or 1.6. Let's go back to the note-taking guide. Last one we're going to look at today. Multiplying and dividing integers. The rules for these, just in general, are easier. If you have the signs that are the same, either two positives or two negatives, and multiply them, you get a positive. If you have one of each, you get a negative. But again, in this course this year, being at home with the distance learning, you're going to be using your calculators for this, but it is a good thing to know. So really nothing on this page. You're not gonna have questions like this on the test. So there's no word problems here. So let's go to the study guide 1.7. Okay. So here's just an example of something you could see. It says your uncle owns 90 shares of stock A and 130 shares of stock B. In one day, the price per share changed by plus $3 for stock A. That means that's good. And it went down $2 for stock B, representing with a -2. Find the total change in your value or in your uncle's stock and the value of your uncle's stock. So he has 90 shares of this one and it went up 3. So you go 90 times 3. Okay, so that went up $270. He has 130 shares of stock B and that went down $2. So 130 times -2 because it went down. Okay, so what you end up having here is it went up $270 with this stock, but it went down $260 with this stock, which leaves you a positive $10. So his value stock increased just by $10. Okay, so that's just an example of a word problem with multiplication. Here's a good practice problem you can do. Answers in the back. I think the last type of problem we need to look at is they review finding a mean, which a lot of people think of just finding an average, which means you add them all up and divide by how many they are. Okay, so all you're going to do is they want you to find the mean low temperature. So you're going to add all these up. So they show it right here. Okay, and there's a lot of negatives. So if you're doing this in your calculator, there's a lot of little buttons to be pressed and stuff. But when you add them all up, it equals -42. What I suggest with this, especially if it was a test, do it once and then do it again. Make sure you get the same answer twice because there's just a lot of buttons to be pressed in here. Take your time with it. But again, it adds up to -42. And then you divide by how many numbers you added. So this was days of the week, represented 7 different days. So they take what it added to, divide it by the number of days they added, which was 7, and you get an answer of -6. So the mean low temperature was -6 or 6 below. Okay, so when you practice this one, you could practice a couple of the word problems that are in the study guides, or you can go to the practice workbook, and I wouldn't say you need to do all of this stuff. There's a couple on 1.5, you get 30 and 31. There probably will be some things like this. So on 1.5, if you did this page, take a picture, send it in for extra credit. 1.6, you could do some of these. And then this page, you don't necessarily need to do all of them. If you do it for extra credit, but at least know how to do these. Okay, remember the change in temperature is, or elevation is where, when we wrote this before, is the end minus the start. Okay, and then there's a couple word problems down here. Okay, and the same with 1.7. Maybe these 3 problems here. So not a ton of work because we're really narrowing it down because of doing the distance learning and having calculators there at home and stuff. So doing 3 sections at once, all kind of the same thing. Go through, look at those, make sure you understand them, do what you need to for practice. And then when you have watched this video, send me a message in the chat saying you have watched the video, and that gets you your respect and effort points for the day. So if you have any questions, let me know.